make it ever true. Change my heart, oh God, may I be like you. Change my heart, oh God, make it ever true. Change my heart, oh God, may I be like you. You are the potter, I am the clay. Mold me and make me, this is what I pray. Change my heart, oh God. Change my heart, oh God. Make it ever true. Change my heart, oh God. Change my heart, oh God. May I be like you. Good morning. Put you in here, hold there. Just one second, get my glove on. It is a little chilly out here, not near as bitingly cold as it was the last day I was out. It's a good Tuesday morning, and we are picking up with our journey through the Bible. Today we are picking up with Jacob sending gifts to Esau, beginning in Genesis 32, verse 1. And this is still a little less than 2,000 years before Christ, somewhere between 1909 and 1743 BC. As Jacob and his household started on their way again, angels of God came to meet him. When Jacob saw them, he exclaimed, "This is God's camp!" So he named the place Manaim. Jacob now sent messengers to his brother Esau in Edom, the land of Seir. He told them, "Give this message to my master Esau. Humble greetings from your servant Jacob. I have been living with Uncle Laban until recently, and now I own oxen, donkeys, sheep, goats, and many servants, both men and women. I have sent these messengers to inform you of my coming, hoping that you will be friendly to us." The messengers returned with the news that Esau was on his way to meet Jacob, with an army of 400 men. Jacob was terrified at the news. He divided his household, along with the flocks and herds and camels, into two camps. He thought, if Esau attacks one group, perhaps the other can escape. Then Jacob prayed, "O God of my grandfather Abraham and my father Isaac, O Lord, you told me to return to my land and to my relatives, and you promised to treat me kindly. I am not worthy of all the faithfulness and unfailing love you have shown to me, your servant. When I left home, I owned nothing except a walking stick, and now my household fills two camps. O Lord, please rescue me from my brother Esau. I am afraid that he is coming to kill me, along with my wives and children. But you promised to treat me kindly, and to multiply my descendants until they become as numerous as the sands along the seashore, too many to count." Jacob stayed where he was for the night, and prepared a present for Esau: 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 male donkeys. He told his servants to lead them on ahead, each group of animals by itself, separated by a distance in between. He gave these instructions to the men leading the first group. "When you meet Esau, he will ask you, 'Where are you going? Whose servants are you? Whose animals are these?' You should reply, 'They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a present for his master Esau. He is coming right behind us.'" Jacob gave the same instructions to each of the herdsmen and told them, "You are all to say the same thing to Esau when you see him. And be sure to say, 'Your servant Jacob is right behind us.'" Jacob's plan was to appease Esau with the presents before meeting him face to face. Perhaps, Jacob hoped, he will be friendly to us. So the presents were sent on ahead, and Jacob spent that night in the camp. Jacob wrestles with God, beginning in Genesis 32:22. But during the night Jacob got up and sent his 2 wives, 2 concubines, and 11 sons across the Jabbok River. After they were on the other side, he sent over all his possessions. This left Jacob alone in the camp, and a man came and wrestled with him until dawn. When the man saw that he could not win the match, he struck Jacob's hip and knocked it out of joint at the socket. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is dawn." But Jacob panted, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." "What is your name?" the man asked. He replied, "Jacob." "Your name will no longer be Jacob," the man told him. "It is now Israel, because you have struggled with both God and men and have won." "What is your name?" Jacob asked him. "Why do you ask?" the man replied. Then he blessed Jacob there. Jacob named the place Peniel, face of God, for he said, "I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared." The sun rose as he left Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. That is why even today the people of Israel don't eat meat from near the hip, in memory of what happened that night. Jacob and Esau make peace, beginning in Genesis 33:1. Then, in the distance, Jacob saw Esau coming with his 400 men. Jacob now arranged his family in a column, with his 2 concubines and their children at the front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. Then Jacob went on ahead. As he approached his brother, he bowed low 7 times before him. Then Esau ran to meet him and embraced him affectionately and kissed him. Both of them were in tears. Then Esau looked at the women and children and asked, "Who are these people with you?" "These are the children God has graciously given to me," Jacob replied. Then the concubines came forward with their children and bowed low before him. Next Leah came with her children, and they bowed down. Finally Rachel and Joseph came and made their bows. "And what were all the flocks and herds I met as I came?" Esau asked. Jacob replied, "They are gifts, my lord, to ensure your goodwill." "Brother, I have plenty," Esau answered. "Keep what you have." "No, please accept them," Jacob said, "for what a relief it is to see your friendly smile. It is like seeing the smile of God. Please take my gifts, for God has been very generous to me. I have more than enough." Jacob continued to insist, so Esau finally accepted them. "Well, let's be going," Esau said. "I will stay with you and lead the way." But Jacob replied, "You can see, my lord, that some of the children are very young, and the flocks and our herds have their young too. If they are driven too hard, they may die. Go on ahead of us. We will follow at our own pace and meet you at Seir." "Well," Esau said, "at least let me leave some of my men to guide and protect you." "There is no reason for you to be so kind to me," Jacob insisted. So Esau started back to Seir that same day. Meanwhile, Jacob and his household traveled on to Succoth. There he built himself a house and made shelters for his flocks and herds. That is why the place was named Succoth. Then they arrived safely at Shechem in Canaan, and they set up camp just outside the town. Jacob bought the land he camped on from the family of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of silver. And there he built an altar and called it El Elohe Israel. Revenge against Shechem, beginning in Genesis 34:1. One day Dinah, Leah's daughter, went to visit some of the young women who lived in the area. But when the local prince, Shechem's son of Hamor the Hittite, saw her, he took her and raped her. But Shechem's love for Dinah was strong, and he tried to win her affection. He even spoke to his father about it. "Get this girl for me," he demanded. "I want to marry her." Word soon reached Jacob that his daughter had been defiled, but his sons were out in the fields herding cattle, so he did nothing until they returned. Meanwhile, Hamor, Shechem's father, came out to discuss the matter with Jacob. He arrived just as Jacob's sons were coming in from the fields. They were shocked and furious that their sister had been raped. Shechem had done a disgraceful thing against Jacob's family, a thing that should never have been done. Hamor told Jacob and his sons, "My son Shechem is truly in love with your daughter, and he longs for her to be his wife. Please let him marry her. We invite you to let your daughters marry our sons, and we will give our daughters as wives for your young men. and you may live among us, and the land is open to you. Settle here and trade with us. You are free to acquire property among us." Then Shechem addressed Dinah's father and brothers. "Please be kind to me, and let me have her as my wife," he begged. "I will give whatever you require. No matter what dowry or gift you demand, I will pay it. Only give me the girl as my wife." But Dinah's brothers deceived Shechem and Hamor because of what Shechem had done to their sister. They said to them, "We couldn't possibly allow this because you aren't circumcised. It would be a disgrace for her to marry a man like you. But here's the solution. If every man among you will be circumcised like we are, we will intermarry with you and live here and unite with you to become one people. Otherwise, we will take her and be on our way." Hamor and Shechem gladly agreed, and Shechem lost no time in acting on this request, for he wanted Dinah desperately. Shechem was a highly respected member of his family, and he appeared with his father before the town leaders to present this proposal. "Those men are our friends," they said. "Let's invite them to live here among us and ply their trade, for the land is large enough to hold them, and we can intermarry with them. But they will consider staying here only on one condition. Every one of us men must be circumcised, just as they are. But if we do this, all their flocks and possessions will become ours. Come, let's agree to do this so they will settle here among us." So all the men agreed and were circumcised. But 3 days later, when their wounds were still sore, 2 of Dinah's brothers, Simeon and Levi, took their swords, entered the town without opposition, and slaughtered every man there, including Hamor and Shechem. They rescued Dinah from Shechem's house and returned to their camp. Then all of Jacob's sons plundered the town because their sister had been defiled there. They seized all the flocks and herds and donkeys, everything they could lay their hands on, both inside the town and outside in the fields. They also took all the women and children and wealth of every kind. Afterward, Jacob said to Levi and Simeon, "You have made me stink among all the people of this land, among all the Canaanites and Perizzites. We are so few that they will come and crush us. We will all be killed." "Should we treat our sister like a prostitute?" they retorted angrily. Jacob's return to Bethel, beginning in Genesis 35:1. God said to Jacob, "Now move on out to Bethel and settle there. Build an altar there to worship me, the God who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau." So Jacob told everyone in his household, "Destroy your idols, wash yourselves, and put on clean clothing. We are now going to Bethel, where I will build an altar to the God who answered my prayers when I was in distress. He has stayed with me wherever I have gone." So they gave Jacob all their idols and their earrings, and he buried them beneath the tree near Shechem. When they set out again, terror from God came over the people in all the towns of that area, and no one attacked them. Finally they arrived at Luz, now called Bethel, in Canaan. Jacob built an altar there and named it El Bethel, because God had appeared to him there at Bethel, when he was fleeing from Esau. Soon after this, Rebekah's old nurse Deborah died. She was buried beneath the oak tree in the valley below Bethel. Ever since, the tree has been called the Oak of Weeping. God appeared to Jacob once again when he arrived at Bethel after traveling from Padan Aram. God blessed him and said, "Your name is no longer Jacob. You will now be called Israel." Then God said, "I am God Almighty. Multiply and fill the earth. Become a great nation, even many nations. Kings will be from among your descendants, and I will pass on to you the land I gave to Abraham and Isaac. Yes, I will give it to you and your descendants." Then God went up from the place where he had spoken to Jacob. Jacob set up a stone pillar to mark the place where God had spoken to him. He then poured wine over it as an offering to God, and anointed the pillar with olive oil. Jacob called the place Bethel, house of God, because God had spoken to him there. The death of Rachel, beginning in Genesis 35:16. Leaving Bethel, they traveled on toward Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. But Rachel's pains of childbirth began while they were still some distance away, and after a very hard delivery, the midwife finally exclaimed, "Don't be afraid, you have another son." Rachel was about to die, but with her last breath she named him Ben-Ami. The baby's father, however, called him Benjamin. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a stone monument over her grave, and it can be seen there to this day. Jacob then traveled on and camped beyond the Tower of Eder. While he was there, Reuben slept with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and someone told Jacob about it. These are the names of the 12 sons of Jacob. The sons of Leah were Reuben, Jacob's oldest son, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel were Joseph and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah were Rachel's servants were Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's servant, were Gad and Asher. These were the sons born to Jacob at Padan Aram. So Jacob came home to his father Isaac in Mamre, which is near Kiriath Arba, now called Hebron, where Abraham had also lived. All right, let me change over to the next, our closing hymn. But hopefully this is stiller than what I've been doing. Easier for y'all to follow along. Oh my God, you are my King. You are my Master, my everything. You are my Lord, that's why I sing to you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You are my God, you are my King, you are my Master, my everything. You are my Lord, that's why I sing to you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Troy. Good morning, Anna, Katie, and Kara. Good morning, Shirley. Good morning, Peggy and Jim. Good morning, Patty. Good morning, Lanita. I see you're usually watching this later in the day. Let's see. Good morning, Pam. Good morning, Barry Nell. Good morning, Patty. Good morning, Rhonda. Hope everybody has a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow morning at 8.